All alderpersons are present with the exception of Alderperson Kubishak, who indicated that he had a conflict this evening with his work obligations. Item 3 on the agenda this evening, call out that we do not have a electronic voting system because our clerk is at a training, and so therefore we're going to do everything much easier, I believe, and much more efficiently with a voice vote system tonight. So we'll do our best to reread the motions as we get them on the record here for everyone's benefit tonight in the absence of the clerk. Item 3 is the reading of the minutes of the. Oh, right. Yeah, there was an error in the publishing of the agenda as well, where the Pledge of Allegiance was omitted. So I'd like to first start by inviting you all to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Now we'll move on to item number 3, which is the reading of the minutes of the previous regular council meeting on June 19th, 2018. Council members, what are your wishes regarding those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve by Zerflu. Is there a second? Second by Blazer. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 4 is the explanation of the visitor speaking procedure. Individuals wishing to address the body may do so after being acknowledged by a council member. Individuals will only be allowed to speak on agenda items appearing before us this evening. There are no public hearings on the agenda, but individuals may be yielded time by council members where appropriate. Item 5 on our agenda is my report. Good evening, council members, city staff, and those here or watching from home. This last month, the Mayor's Youth Council worked heavily with teen fireworks fundraising for the July 4th show. They had a number of collections throughout the community, the Lunch by the River, Cotton Candy, Cinema Under the Stars. They held a telethon on the radio show that I hold monthly and sold root beer floats on the night of the 4th of July down at the fireworks. After all of that work, adding in a very nice, touching dedication to our military families in our community, those active or retirees, we hosted a very unique edition this year with a flyover from the United States Air Force 115th Fighter Wing, and the fireworks concluded that evening without any issues. The Mayor's Youth Council also looks forward to continuing work on aquatics awareness, diving into some new projects, also bidding some of the graduating members farewell, and starting to recruit for new members. So if you know of a high school student that is looking to be a part of a very important group in our community, the Youth Council, encourage them to watch for an application through their high school guidance office. We do accept applicants from all the area high schools. The Beautification Council wishes to indicate that the various beautification projects are underway. The hanging baskets, the planters in the downtown at the entrances and at the entrances to our parks. The Beautification Council met last month and is working to pull together a group that will focus on the 8th Street corridor in our community, on North 8th Street, I should mention. The goal is to combine their efforts, guided by our previous work with the America in Bloom judging report done a number of years ago, in coordination with the businesses along 8th Street to improve the look and feel of that corridor on sort of a temporary basis in advance of any future major reconstruction of that corridor that may get scheduled in the future. While discussions have already begun, the group will also start planning holiday decorations and getting ready for its support of the annual Christmas tree walk. Individuals wishing to join any of those efforts, the group would like to make you all aware that they do take individuals wishing to support and participate in the various projects. On the various development projects on the riverfront, the site grading and riverbank stabilization within Demetz Park and installation of the riprap stabilization project along the shoreline of the park has been completed. Portions of the concrete trail between Demetz and Meade Street have been poured, and the grading and installation of the gravel base for the parking lot in Demetz Park has also begun. Concrete work on the trail from the park to 3rd Street and along 3rd Street Homes continues, with much of it complete. And as you notice, we've made some design tweaks to accommodate some of the concerns of residents along that corridor, and I think have turned out fairly nice. The Airport Commission remains pleased in the ongoing traffic volumes out at the airport. Fuel sales have been tracking over 300% higher than previous years, than last year, I should say, with the Commission retaining the profits, ultimately having a positive impact to local taxpayers, who in turn support the airport's operations annually. Capital projects continue to progress nicely. The secondary runway reconstruction is nearing completion with pavement marking to occur next week following an opening to the airport users. The commission will meet this week, Thursday afternoon, to review the projects, review the bids, on the $4 million in state aid that was gifted to the airport commission through the state budget process. And depending on the bid tabulation, we will review and consider discretionary items to be completed with the outstanding state dollars where they're available. On the YMCA Boys and Girls Club project, last week we hosted the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation for Main Street Day here at the former Rapids Mall site across the street, where we were presented a proclamation from Senator Teston, ultimately given to us by Governor Walker. In addition, we were also presented formally with a $150,000 check to support the redevelopment of the mall property and that project. On the zoo, I'm pleased that as you'll see in your packets tonight, that the Park and Rec Commission adopted the zoo master plan following many months of the Youth Council and community member involvement, telling us their aspirations and views on the zoo. And while we haven't fully established the work plan for Phase 1 to utilize that private gift of $300,000, the Parks Commission will use the plan, the Parks Department will use the plan as a guide to present a proposal to the Parks Commission at a future meeting. The Planning Commission concluded its work after probably 20 to 20 plus months on the zoning code rewrite. And so I want to acknowledge all the Planning Commission members who went through that process with us, as well as our consultant, Civitech. It certainly took a lot of extra time, and I know the Planning Commission, you don't receive a dime of payment for your service on that commission. So thanks to all the commissioners as well as staff for their review. And ultimately, now that the commission has passed for your recommendation to you tonight, the adoption of that code and zoning map. In the category of attended, hosted, or participated, the Hatch Judging, a Shark Tank style entrepreneurial event, was held at Mid-State Technical College late last month, where I participated as a judge alongside other community members who selected a startup company, actually an invention that a gentleman, local guy, had created, and they will go on to compete at a regional level. The program is funded in part by Bright Star Wisconsin and is also supported by Encourage Locally, which to support that project and host a Shark Tank style entrepreneurial recognition event. We held at the Boys and Girls Club, participated and held Vince Beagle Days to celebrate our local Packer at the club just a couple of weeks ago. We hosted in this room today mini adventures, summer school tours. So if your chairs and microphones are out of whack, I apologize for that. The kids always like to get their hands on everything in this room. The Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters held an interview on the riverfront with community members on the riverfront investment project, as well as all the stewardship dollars that have come into this community in support of riverbank stabilization and improvements. We also held a very successful airport hamburger social fly-in. So end of June, there were probably the largest number of local aircraft that came from around the state to a hamburger fly-in. So I want to acknowledge the EAA chapter for their work in getting our airport on the map and having people from around the state fly in for that social. 2 ribbon cuttings were held this last month. The bike share program, I want to acknowledge the River Riders Bike Share for their launch, as well as the Wisconsin Rapids City Times office location on 8th Street. Proclamations, issued 1 proclamation, and that was the General Aviation Appreciation Month here in July. And 2 final notes, 1 on board and commission appointments. I want to make an official call to residents to register their interest by filling out a form with the city clerk's office for various openings that are in existence or will come open on the Park and Rec and Planning Commissions, as well as the Library Board, among others. And finally, I want to acknowledge officially acknowledge Fire Chief Scott Young for his appointment as Fire Chief to the city. Congratulations, Scott, for surviving the process that the Police and Fire Commission put out in front of you. Thanks for serving as interim since last fall. I know it was a long process that the commission took to ultimately fill the position, but congratulations to you, and look forward to working with you. So, thank you. All right, item 6 on our agenda is my appointments to various committees, commissions, and boards. Attachment number 2 in your packets. Commissioners or council members, what are your wishes regarding that item?
I'll make a motion to approve the appointment.
We have a motion by Zerflu. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Blazer. Any discussion on the appointments? Seeing none, Moving to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Move on to item 7, new business. Item A is a discussion on the configuration of a legislative committee. I believe this item was discussed at a committee of the whole, and so I would, I guess, open the floor for discussion on that. Yes, Alderperson Zerflu.
I think a committee such as this, I know we talked about it at the committee of the whole meeting, but I think it would be utilized on an as-needed basis. And I would propose just setting it up the same way we set up all our committees, with an appointment either by the mayor or council president or whoever, however we want that to work. But a three-body committee.
Is that were you making that motion, or was it more of a?
It wasn't a
recommendation?
motion, it was just like, I guess, my thoughts.
Okay.
I can wait to see what other
Sure.
people think.
Alderperson Blazer?
I guess probably it come down to, I think the last legislative committee was larger than a normal committee. If I'm correct, Sue?
Right, it was actually back when there were like 23 members, and so then part of the downsizing of the council was the elimination of maintenance of way and legislative, and then just down to the three committees. So the majority of the duties of the legislative committee actually were dispersed then probably between finance and public works for the most part. Yeah, I guess I was going to suggest that perhaps that it's just, I mean, it seems like the other committees are, that there isn't a lot that we're kind of questioning, like what committee does it go to, so let's take it right to council. I mean, I think some of these ordinances recently were items that then we took right to council, so I guess I was suggesting that since it doesn't happen very often, that perhaps it's just something that finance committee might just take up instead of having another committee. But I think the role, as I understand it from your discussions, would be just limited to those items, specifically ordinances that did not fall into another committee's jurisdiction, or were you saying that any ordinance, any time that would be changed would go through legislative? I wasn't at the committee of the whole, so I'm not, that's why we were looking for some direction on that.
I guess my thought was only those types of ordinances. Obviously, a property issue, property and finance, or, a parks ordinance, or could go to public works or something like that.
And I guess for the ease of it, maybe a membership could be just the chairman of the three committees, and then that could be a legislative committee.
Other requests to speak? So is the intent that this item would be brought back with ordinance language for future consideration?
Right, with some direction tonight on what should be in the ordinance. So we could probably make a motion to that effect if you have some agreement on what the composition is going to be and what the duties are.
So I'll move then to create a legislative committee made up of 3 members of this council, with those members being the chairman of the 3 currently existing committees.
We have a motion by Zerflu. Is there a second? Second by Blazer. Move into further discussion. Are there any further items to discuss? Anybody? Alderperson Catnaugh?
More of a question. So currently, where are these items going? They're being dispersed through the committees? Or
Well, no, they're going directly to council because they're not specifically under the jurisdiction of the other standing committees, whereas in the past, they probably were picked up by the legislative committee. So it doesn't happen often, but I think instead of an ordinance coming right to council, I think the thought was, well, there should be some committee that at least can vet this and before it actually goes to council, so.
thank you.
Further requests to speak? Comments? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. The motion is to recommend, Sue, I'll ask you to read it since you're, I don't want to try to read your writing up here.
The motion is to create a legislative committee composed of 3 members, and those 3 members shall be the chair of each of the council standing committees. And I guess implicit in that would be for ordinances that aren't otherwise under the purview of the other standing committees.
All right. We'll move into a vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 7B is consider the request of Alderperson Koth to renew the motion to approve the rezoning of parcel 34-01585 located at the southeast corner of 17th Avenue North and Rosecrans Street from A1 Agricultural District to the R3 Multifamily Residential District. The rezoning was considered at the May 15th, 2018 council meeting and denied at that time. Alderperson Koth, did you want to speak to that request?
Yes, thanks, Your Honor. I was contacted by one of my constituents to bring this back who did have an interest in it and said that by bringing this back, not only do we have the possibility of getting business to locate to this city, but it would also benefit the city by putting property on the tax roll that would overall help us. With that, I was asked to bring it back for reconsideration to the council.
All right, so from a process standpoint, the way this would happen is we would first consider the request to renew it, and then we would move into the actual component, depending on the decision of that. So Alderperson Koth, did you have anything further?
No,
Okay.
but the city attorney just advised that there have to be a formal motion, so I'll make that motion at this time. I make a request or motion to renew the request for the rezoning of 17th and Rosencrantz.
So we have a motion to renew the request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Katna. Is there any discussion on the motion? Alderperson Zerflu?
First point of clarification, this isn't the actual rezoning motion, then?
Right.
This is just to enter discussion?
Correct.
Okay. So to that end, since this was brought back and not put before planning, I would like to see if there was maybe a member of the audience who wanted to take a brief moment to speak on the issue.
I would call that request out of order for one reason now at this point, and that's because it's a motion to renew the item. So we're not actually considering the rezoning at this point.
Would that be more appropriate at a later?
And the public hearing was held and closed. So legally, we're not allowed to take further
Comments?
comment outside the public hearing process. So I would call those out of order for that purpose, and I would ask our parliamentarian to weigh in if she's got any conflict with that.
That's fair enough, Your Honor. I understand that.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second to renew the request, renew the motion. We've got a request to renew the motion to approve the rezoning. Is there any further request to speak on that? Alderperson Blazer?
I guess I'm going to say that this council's already voted on this issue, and I guess in light of no new additional information, I plan on voting no for that reason.
Alderperson Katna?
I voted in favor of this the first time it came around, and when it got voted down, I heard from several residents, I think that should be noted, that we're wondering why we went this direction. As I noted before, a lot of this housing is currently happening in Plover. People who work in Rapids are choosing to live in Plover because of that. We can add to the tax roll. And one of the main concerns was the cost of these apartments compared to what we currently have. And I don't think that's the council's responsibility to determine what the market may or may not want to pay. And I think we need to give this a chance, if that's why some people voted down, to let the market figure it out itself. So I just wanted to make those points out. I did hear from business owners and residents after we voted that down. So, I mean, the public definitely has an interest in seeing this renewed as well, in my opinion.
Thank you. Are there any other requests to speak? See no further requests to speak. The motion is to,
Right, the motion is to renew the zoning app. The motion is to, if you vote in favor, you want to have another vote on the rezoning. It's he's requesting to renew the action from the zoning application. first, the first thing is to see if the majority want to do that. It's a simple majority vote. And then if so, the simple majority wants to relook at this, then there will be a vote on the actual zoning application again.
All right, got a motion and a second. Got the motion out there. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do a roll call vote so we can just capture the number on that. We'll just start over here. Shane?
Hey,
Motion fails. Yeah. No, motion failed. 4 nays, 3 ayes. Okay, we'll move on to item 7C, which is a public hearing on an amendment to the comprehensive plan. With that, I will open the public hearing. Oh, okay, so there is an ordinance after the public hearing. The ordinance that you want to pay attention to doesn't have a number at the top, but it says ordinance number with a space, 2018. So with that, I'll open the public hearing on an amendment to the comprehensive plan. Adam, would you like to speak first?
Certainly. As all of you are aware, and you will be acting on conceivably after this, is that the city has been undergoing the zoning rewrite process over the last couple of years. One of the things that we wanted to clean up as well during that process was updating our future land use map. State law does require an amount of consistency between our planned land use map and our current zoning map. The document that we currently have as part of the comprehensive plan was adopted in 2010. So number one, it's a bit out of date, and number two, there were some errors that were done during the drafting of that document. So we wanted to run these parallel so that we can basically clean up those issues as well. So in the Planning Commission packet that was handed out or provided to all council members is the current draft of the future land use map, which is the lion's share of this amendment. Also contained in this amendment is a cleanup of Chapter 7, which is basically the text that supports that future land use map. For the most part, the changes within that Chapter 7 are basically updating numbers. So, for example, there are population projections in there. There are assessed value numbers in there. All of those were updated to the most current information. We utilized our housing study that was completed in 2016 for really helping to update our housing projections and our population projections. So that language is added into that Chapter 7 as well. Traditionally, the public hearing for this type of project is held at the council rather than the planning commission, so obviously that's why it's being held tonight. As far as changes on the future land use map, again, for the most part, it is cleaning up the main corridors of the city. So for example, 8th Street, West Grand, Baker Street as it heads out of town. All of those areas are where you begin to see some transitions and where you'll likely see changes over time. One of the issues that we had previously on the comprehensive plan map was areas that were planned for residential but were currently vacant. For whatever reason, they were shown as remaining agricultural rural on the long-range plan. That did not really seem appropriate, so we made those revisions. On the West Grand corridor, one of the recommendations from the Planning Commission as they reviewed this was to show the south side of West Grand, basically when you get west of the fire station, to be more of a planned mixed use rather than just a general commercial. The purpose for that is to allow maybe a mixture of rental residential units in addition to commercial or office uses along that corridor. One of the other things that is shown is when you have a corridor like that and then it transitions to residential, single family eventually, is trying to incorporate some buffer areas along there of mixed residential. So that can be single family, but it can also be 2 family, 3 family, so a variety of residential uses to kind of step down from that commercial corridor down to the traditional single family neighborhood. So you see that along the West Grand corridor. You see it in portions of 8th Street around, let's see, on the Pepper crossing there, you see a little bit of a transition from the commercial down to planned mixed use. So those are really the type of things that we're trying to deal with this amendment. And then the other thing that we did is we tried to better show the future growth areas. Not saying that we're going to grow as big as is shown on the map, but it doesn't make sense to consider that the city would not grow at all over the next 20 to 30 years. So there are growth areas shown west of the city limits, basically a rural residential type of development, maybe some commercial along the state highway corridor. And then east of town, again, some rural residential development in the town of Grand Rapids, consistent with what really you see happening out in the town of Grand Rapids. And then just kind of potential for additional industrial expansion around the Rapids East Commerce Center. So that's my attempt to summarize the documents, and I would ask for your support on amending this. And again, ultimately, the goal was to make it more consistent with the proposed zoning map that will be before you shortly.
All right, anyone wishing to speak in favor or against the modifications to the comprehensive plan? For the second time, anyone wishing to speak in favor or against the modifications proposed in the comprehensive plan? I've got a couple, so I'm going to throw them out there. Sorry, Adam, I didn't get them to you earlier. Page 16 of the comp plan, item proposed the addition of additional item 13, which would state, and I've got these written down, so happy to repeat them for anyone that needs them. But it would be to create initiatives, to promote the creation of initiatives to address substandard housing. And a 14 would be to continue to support the recycling of materials to include yard waste, compost, and recyclables. And then the policies section, I proposed the addition of a 23rd item to read that a health assessment be performed on redevelopment projects. Those were the three additions that I had. I know some of them were curated from Alderperson Kellogg, so thanks for working with me on a couple of those. So that concludes my additions or suggestions to be incorporated into the comprehensive plan. For the third and final time, before we go ahead and close the public hearing, I'd ask if anyone wishes to speak in favor or against the adoption of the comprehensive amendment to our comprehensive plan. With that, we'll close the public hearing at 6:27 p.m. Move on to item 7D, action on the comprehensive plan amendment. Council members, or Adam, did you want to speak to either any of the proposed that I added, if there's any issue you have with those, or if there's anything?
No, just, I guess, to expand a little bit, if I'm understanding on the item number 23, that would be a health impact analysis or an HIA. Just for the council members' information, I guess. Currently, Madeline in my office is working with the County Health Department and the Center on Wisconsin Strategies, or COWS, out of Madison, to perform a health impact analysis, kind of run through what that would look like. We're utilizing the Senior Housing Project by Centralia Center. The whole purpose of that is really just looking at a project and saying, okay, the project is good. It's not an approval or a denial of the project. It's how do you enhance the project to make sure that has a positive impact on all assets of health. So that could be economic health, that could be physical health, could be mental health. So really that's the purpose of a health impact analysis. So I think what you're getting to, Mayor, is that really just to take that a different look at those type of projects to make sure we're considering its overall impact on it versus maybe just looking at it from a land use or a property valuation type of look. So,
Thank you. It's been a great time to work with the UW Health, School of Population Health on that project thus far. Council members, what are your wishes regarding, are there any requests to speak on that item before us, which is essentially the ordinance amending City of Wisconsin Rapids Comprehensive Plan contained in Chapter 37.
I'll make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan amendment with the 3 additions that Mayor Bruing just made.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Katna. Any further discussion? Any requests to speak? See no further requests to speak. We'll move into a vote. Motion is to approve with the addition of those 3 items. Moving to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. 7D is a consideration of an ordinance to repeal and recreate Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code, also referred to as the zoning code. Attachment number 3. Adam.
All right, before you, and I apologize for the late delivery, but it was put on your desk as the mayor was giving his report. Those are the minutes from the public hearing that was held at 4:30 this evening. That was a continuation of the original public hearing that started on June 19th. That public hearing went for an hour, knowing that there was concerns and some other items to discuss. That public hearing was basically continued to this afternoon. Overall, there are 2 recommendations that came out of the Planning Commission. One is to adopt a new zoning map that is reflected in the July 17th version. And again, I handed that out for you, but they did make several modifications to that. Those were basically tied to some additional comments I had received and some discussion that occurred. Ultimately, the first 3 changes were various athletic or park facilities throughout the city, Whitterfield, Meadfield, and Veterans Park that were shown as either institutional or commercial on the zoning map. The decision was made to show those as P1, which is the park zoning district. There are 2 churches that are basically at transition areas between the downtown zoning district and some residential areas to the south. Those were currently shown as commercial. The recommendation of the commission was to show those as I1, which is our institutional district. Basically what that does is it allows the churches to be considered legal and conforming, so they would be able to remain in place until such time as they would close or move on. But it was felt that the zoning should reflect those current uses. The next change was there is a corridor of homes and apartments, basically from Birch Street down to Mead Street on the east side of the river between 2nd Street South and 3rd Street South. For whatever reason, I wasn't here, but at some point that entire corridor was rezoned R3, which encourages multifamily or basically the removal of single-family homes on that corridor. If you drive that corridor, some of the oldest and nicest houses in the community are actually on that corridor, so it didn't really make a lot of sense for us to be encouraging those to be non-conforming and potentially torn down and replaced with apartments. So the recommendation from the commission was if there are single-family homes along that stretch, that those be shown as R2, which is our 1 family and 2 family residential district. And then the final change was there's a block, if you're familiar with the Moravian Church, which is located just south of Goggins between 1st Avenue and 3rd Avenue. There's an entire block there. And again, sometime back in the 70s or 80s, that block was rezoned to commercial. My guess is they thought the commercial district might expand that direction. That has not happened. And again, there are a number of residential homes on that block, many of which are in good condition and well maintained. And it didn't make sense to, once again, basically make them non-conforming. So that recommendation is to rezone those homes to R2. Again, so their recommendation was to adopt that July 17th map with those changes. And then the second recommendation out of the Planning Commission was to adopt the most recent draft of the zoning code, which was summarized in a July 11th, 2018 memo with 1 modification. Basically, there is a section of the code that determines the makeup of the Planning Commission, and the recommendation of the commission was to allow up to 2 non-residents to be on the Planning Commission. However, even though they wouldn't be necessarily have to be residents, they would have to own or have material interest within the city limits. So it wouldn't be someone who's just has no skin in the game, as it were, on what is in the best interest of the city. So that modification was recommended. The draft had 1 Planning Commission member being allowed to be a non-resident. Their recommendation is to change that to 2. Otherwise, again, they recommended the most recent draft dated July 11th be adopted by the City Council.
All right. Council members, what are your wishes regarding 7E?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I forgot one other thing. They did also recommend that the zoning code become effective on August 1st of this year. That just gives us a little bit time to make the changes that were recommended by the commission and potentially adopted by the council, and then to get our other things like forms and fees and things like that lined up and ready to go by August 1.
Guess but certainly can open the floor to conversations as well, but otherwise I'd entertain a motion, either one. Alderpersons, where your wishes. Alderperson Kellogg?
I guess the only question or concern I have is that there's two positions there that are, they don't live, they're not residents in Wisconsin Rapids. And I guess I have a concern about that. Presently, it's one position or one seat, and you're expanding it to two. And I think if a person, I mean, that's a very important commission. It makes a whole lot of difference in, like we were talking about apartment complexes, and we're talking about businesses, and we're talking about a whole lot of stuff. And I think it should be people that live within Wisconsin Rapids. But I understand there might be a position for a person living outside Wisconsin Rapids that have property. But having two people having a vested interest, I know I have a concern about that one aspect of it. The others, I sat in at the meeting, and the others I feel comfortable with. But that one particular one, I just don't feel as comfortable. I'd rather keep it as one position. That's where I'm coming from.
Other comments, Alderpersons? As a point of clarification, the current code actually accounts for citizens. We could have a commission conceivably of all non-residents, but
Okay.
the way it was drafted proposed one, so just
Right.
as a clarification for everyone. So there are presently two members that don't reside in the city that are on the commission that own property. Alderperson Zerflu? I think you indicated you want to speak.
Just more to what Alderperson Kellogg just said, is there some sort of advantage to having non-residents on this commission, or I guess what's the thought? What was the thought behind that?
Well, I can't necessarily speak for the commission. I'll try to interpret their discussion. Ultimately, the reason they did specifically tie it to having to own property in the city is so that, again, you may have someone who lives in the town of Grand Rapids. Obviously, they most likely work in the city. They most likely shop in the city. And if they own property in the city, they have a lot of interest as far as what is in the best interest of the city. So they wanted to make sure that that tie was real and important. Or they saw it as important. The other aspect is with any commission and board, I think there's a lot of times it's hard to find qualified people who are actually interested in being on the commission. So I think it provides a little bit of leeway for the mayor and the council to potentially find people who are a good fit for the commission by casting a slightly wider net.
So do you foresee problems? I guess do we have any now?
We've got two members of the seven-member commission that serve, so it's about 28%, 29% of the overall makeup of the commission.
Okay.
Right, they had previously had residency and had moved out, so the ordinance allows for them to continue to serve, so that's
Sure.
why their resignation wasn't sought. Thank you. Alderperson Blazer, you're next.
This body is mainly a recommending body, though, correct? They don't, so ultimately, they're just making a recommendation to us on most items.
Mm-hmm.
So we still have final say.
Thank you. Alderperson, who else had a request to speak? Alderperson Zerflu.
I was just going to make a motion to approve then.
We have a motion by Zerflu to approve as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Blazer. Move into discussion. Are there any further requests to speak? See no further. Alderperson Blazer?
I'm just going to say congratulations to everybody involved, because I know this was a long undertaking and it was long overdue. Congratulations.
Any other further requests to speak by anybody? See no further requests to speak. We'll move into a vote. The motion is to approve as it has been presented tonight. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We got two in opposition. Motion carried. That was a simple majority, Sue? Rayom and Kellogg in opposition. Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to, thank you, we'll move on, I'll echo Shane's comments as I did earlier. 7E, 7F, consideration of the adoption of a new city zoning map. Adam, do you want to walk through those changes as well?
Oh, I thought I did those already.
Oh, you did those already.
I'm sorry, I combined them into one report. If you would like me to cover those again,
Nope, I
I'm
think
happy to
we're
speak
okay.
more.
Thanks. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding that item?
I'll make a motion to approve the zoning map as presented to us tonight with the corrections that Mr. Tagan outlined to us.
Motion by Zerflu, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Blazer. Any further discussion on the proposed changes to the zoning map? Seeing no request to speak, moving to a vote. All in favor, motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried unanimously. Item 8, report of the Planning Commission meeting held on June 19th. The Planning Commission met at 5 p.m. on June 19th in the first floor conference room of City Hall. Members present included myself, Shane Burkhart, Joe Terry, Lee Tao, and Sue Wesley. Absent was Alderperson Thad Kubishak. Others present are on file in the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. Item 1 was a public hearing on the proposed new zoning code and zoning map. The public hearing was called to order at 5:02 p.m. General information, the proposed zoning map, and staff recommendations for changes were provided by the Director of Community Development, Adam Tagan. As a matter of record, a zoning public open house took place on March 19th, 2018 at the McMillan Public Library from 3 to 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. Speaking in favor, there was no one present speaking in favor. Speaking against was Cynthia Henke, representing the Mead Witter Foundation, who reviewed a letter dated June 19, 2018, and that was attached. There was a motion made by myself, second by Terry, to adjourn the public hearing until July 17, 2018 at 4:30 at the first floor conference room at City Hall, and that motion carried unanimously. The action on proposed new zoning code and zoning map due to the public hearing being postponed and kept open, no action was taken. Item 3 was adjournment. There was a motion by Wesley, second by Burkhart, to adjourn the meeting, and that motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 5:54 p.m. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding number 8? Alderperson Blazer.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Blazer. Is there a second?
Second.
By Kellogg. Any additions or corrections, comments? Moving to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. I need a copy of tonight. I didn't get a copy of tonight's minutes. Anybody? Steve, can I borrow your tonight's copy? That one. Thank you. Yep. The Planning Commission met at 4:30 p.m. on July 17, 2018 at the first floor conference room here at City Hall. Members present included myself, Shane Burkhart, Lee Tao, and Sue Wesley. Absent was Joe Terry and Alderperson Thad Kubishak. Others present are on file in the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 4:30 p.m. Item 1 is a public hearing on the proposed new zoning code and zoning map. The public hearing was called to order at 4:30 p.m. July 17, 2018. I'm going to read through. If we can maybe adjust these modifications, somebody, when I get through it, we'll see how this goes. This is a continuation of that public hearing. Kelly Ryan questioned the impact of Article 14 Downtown Design Overlay District on the Tribune project. It was discussed that it would require an architectural site plan review prior to permitting. The design that had been presented at that point seems to be compliant with the draft language of Article 14. Susan Feith noted that the Mead Witter Foundation had submitted a letter at the June 19, 2018 meeting. They appreciate the changes made to the boundaries of the downtown design overlay district and still wish to have the concerns that were outlined in that letter incorporated into the record. The public hearing was closed at 4:50 p.m. The item 2 was action on proposed new zoning code and zoning map. Recommended updates to the zoning map were presented in a draft dated July 17, 2018. Other changes based on comments received by staff were presented. The recommended updates to the code language were presented in a draft dated July 11, 2018. There was a motion by Wesley, second by Tao, to recommend to the City Council adoption of the July 17, 2018 draft of the zoning map with the following modifications. Witterfield and Veterans Park be zoned, and Meadfield be zoned P1. The church at 311 2nd Street South and church at 310 First Avenue South be zoned I1. The single-family homes in the corridor from Birch to Mead Street between 2nd and 3rd Street South be zoned R2, and the homes on the block bounded by Chase Street, 1st and 3rd Avenue South, and Goggins Street be rezoned R2. The motion carried unanimously. There was a motion by Burkhart, second by Wesley, to recommend to the City Council adoption of the July 11, 2018 draft of the zoning code to be effective on August 1st, 2018, with the following modifications. Section 11.03.03C be amended to allow the number of non-residents serving on the Planning Commission be limited to 2. That motion carried unanimously. Item 3 is adjournment. There's a motion by Tao, second by Burkhart, to adjourn the meeting. That motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned tonight here at 5:43 p.m. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding item 9?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Catnaw. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And I would ask that the modifications I whipped through as I was reading on the fly there be incorporated into the minutes. Just a couple of changes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, moving to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 10, Standing Council Committee Reports. Item A is a report of the Finance and Property Committee meeting held on July 10th. Alderperson Zerflu.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Finance and Property Committee met at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, July 10th, 2018, in the first floor conference room at City Hall. All committee members were present. A list of others attending is on file in the clerk's office. The meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. Item number 2, consider approving continuing financial support for the Regional Economic Growth Initiative. There was a motion and a second to approve funding in the amount of $20,716 for the Regional Economic Growth Initiative to be paid from the room tax funds identified for economic development. That motion carried unanimously. Item 3, consider approving modifications to the current zoning fee schedule. There was a motion and a second to approve modifications to the current zoning fee schedule. Clerk's note, see the modified zoning fee schedule attached to this report. That motion carried unanimously. Item number 4, consider approval of a resolution approving a development agreement with Arbor Terrace, Wisconsin Rapids, LLC for the development of real estate at 301 7th Avenue South, the Centralia Center parking lot, as provided for in the vacant land offer to purchase previously approved with North Point Development Corp. There was a motion and a second to approve the resolution approving a development agreement with Arbor Terrace, Wisconsin Rapids, LLC for the development of real estate at 301 7th Avenue South, as provided for in the vacant land offer to purchase previously approved with North Point Development Corp. That motion carried unanimously. The resolution and development agreement are attached to this report. Item number 5, consider approval of a temporary Class B retailer's license application submitted by Encourage Community Foundation Incorporated for the community picnic to be held on August 1st, 2018. There was a motion and a second to approve a temporary Class B retailer's license application submitted by Encourage Community Foundation Incorporated for the community picnic to be held on August 1st, 2018 from 4:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. That motion carried unanimously. Item 6, consider a request from Wisconsin Rapids Municipal Court to implement a graduated bond schedule for citations issued to juveniles 16 and under for possession of drug paraphernalia, Section 25.17, Parent 4 of the Municipal Code. There was a motion and a second to approve the request from Wisconsin Rapids Municipal Court implementing the graduated bond schedule for citations issued to juveniles 16 and under for possession of drug paraphernalia, Section 25.17, Parent 4 of the Municipal Code. That motion carried unanimously. The ordinance is attached to this report. Item number 7, consider an ordinance amending Section 25.17, Parent 4 of the Municipal Code, increasing the maximum fine amount for possession of drug paraphernalia from $500 to $1,500, with a bond deposit of $250 for a first offense, $750 for a second offense, and $1,500 for a third offense, with offenses being counted in a rolling 12-month period. This ordinance is also attached to this report. There was a motion and a second to approve an ordinance amending Section 25.17, Parent 4 of the Municipal Code, increasing the maximum fine amount for possession of drug paraphernalia from $500 to $1,500, with a bond deposit of $250 for first offense, $750 for second offense, and $1,500 for a third offense, with the offenses being counted in a rolling 12-month period. That motion carried 2 ayes, 1 nay, with Catnaw voting in the negative. Item number 8, consider a contract with Shallows Nursery for landscape and garden improvements outside of the Lowell Center Centralia Center, and acceptance of a donation from the Wisconsin Rapids Senior Center Association Incorporated to pay for the majority of those improvements. There was a motion and a second to approve a contract with Shallows Nursery for landscape and garden improvements outside of the Lowell Center and Centralia Center, and acceptance of a donation from the Wisconsin Rapids Senior Center Association Incorporated to pay for the majority of those improvements. Motion carried unanimously. Item number 9, consider approval of a special events application submitted by Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce for an event called Betty Boop Festival. The event would be on August 11th, 2018, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The applicant is requesting the closures on 1st Street, 2nd Street, the East Grand Avenue Bridge, and 1st Avenue, as well as vending and a suspension of the open container ordinance. There was a motion and a second to approve the special events application submitted by Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce for the Betty Boop Festival. The event will be on August 11th, 2018, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The applicant is requesting closures on 1st Street, 2nd Street, East Grand Avenue Bridge, and 1st Avenue, as well as vending and the suspension of the open container ordinance. That motion carried unanimously. Item 10, consider approval of a temporary Class B retailer's license application submitted by the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce for the Betty Boop Festival on August 11th, 2018. There was a motion and a second to approve the temporary Class B retailer's license application submitted by the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce for the event. That motion carried unanimously. Item number 11, consider approval of a special events application submitted by Wood County Breastfeeding Coalition for a 5K and 10K run to be held on August 4th, 2018 from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The event will start at the zoo and utilize the bike path for the entirety of the race. There was a motion and a second to approve the special events application submitted by Wood County Breastfeeding Coalition for the 5K and 10K run to be held on August 4th, 2018 from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. with the event starting at the zoo and utilizing the bike path for the entirety of the race. That motion carried unanimously. Item number 12, consider an original alcohol beverage retail license application submitted by Melissa Polzin for the premises located at 140 2nd Street North, doing business as the New Body Shop. Melissa Polzin, agent, applying for a Class B liquor license and a Class B beer license. There was a motion and a second to approve the original alcohol beverage retail license application submitted by Melissa Polzin for the Class B liquor and Class B beer license for the premises at 140 2nd Street North, doing business as the New Body Shop, Melissa Polzin, agent. That motion carried, 2 ayes, 1 nay, with Katnaw voting in the negative. Item number 13, consider an original alcohol beverage retail license application submitted by Bottoms Up Bar LLC for the premises located at 126 2nd Street North, doing business as Bottoms Up Bar, Jason Burkholtz, agent, applying for a Class B liquor and Class B beer license. There was a motion and a second to approve the license. That motion carried unanimously. Item 14, consider an energy innovation grant through the Wisconsin Office of Energy Innovation and Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. There was a motion and a second to apply for an energy innovation grant through the Wisconsin Office of Energy Innovation and Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. The grant does not require a city match. That motion carried unanimously. Item 15, review and consider approving a consultant to develop a master plan for the city garage site located at 1411 Chase Street. There was a motion and a second to approve CUNY Architects as the consultant to develop a master plan for the city garage site located at 1411 Chase Street in the amount of $8,670. That motion carried unanimously. Item 16, audit of the bills. There was a motion and a second to approve checks 72605 through 73067 and manual checks 99687 through 99720. That motion carried unanimously. Item 17, beverage operators license applications. There was a motion and a second to approve the beverage operator license applications on file in the clerk's office. That motion carried unanimously. Item number 18, set next meeting date. The next meeting will be on Tuesday, August 7th at 5 p.m. Item number 19, in open session, the committee will vote to go into closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. There was a motion and a second to go into closed session pursuant to section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes. A roll call vote was taken and all members voted in the affirmative. Sub A, in closed session, the committee will have preliminary discussion regarding the sale of city properties. No final action will be taken. The committee will adjourn in closed session. This occurred in closed session, and there was a motion and a second to adjourn. All members voted in the affirmative, and the meeting was adjourned at 7:20 p.m. And after that lengthy report, I will make a motion for approval.
We have a motion and a second, motion by Zerflu, second by Blazer, to approve the report. And move into discussion. Are there any, Alderperson Katna?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to address, I voted in the negative on items 7 and 12, having to do with the change in the paraphernalia ordinance, and then with the approval of the liquor license for the body shop. And I wanted to touch on those a bit. I'm not going to spend too much time. I've addressed this in public meetings previously. But again, with the paraphernalia ordinance, feel it's too broad. I understand it's an attempt to try to correct the drug problem we've been having in the city. I just don't feel that this is the correct way to go about it. I feel like there's already a large amount of people who do not pay their fines. This is going to impact a lot of younger people who may use marijuana. I think we're really trying to target and drive out the harder drugs. And with this, people can get caught up in these fines, which for some people can be 3 months' rent, and we're going to have to use our law enforcement to then track these people down and then put them in jail for not paying the fines. So although I do agree something needs to be done, and I've stated this in the past, I don't know if this is the correct way, so I'm in opposition to that. And then as far as the body shop goes, based on its location, based on the type of business it is, and our plans as a city moving forward, trying to revitalize our downtown, give it a different look and make it look like some neighboring communities who have thriving downtown areas with shopping. I don't feel that this business fits in with that vision. I've talked to several residents about it. They agree. The city does own the Triangle Block, which is right by that. Whatever development we hope to do there in the future, I mean, this type of business is then going to be right next to that, which may affect how certain people look at that property. So a number of issues there. I just don't know if that's the right place and the right business we want in our downtown at this point. And because it is a new application, we are able to look at that and determine without any renewal protection. So I wanted to touch on those 2 points and why I was in opposition. And I mean, I stand by those today.
Alderperson Zerflu.
Your Honor, I can't remember how we decided to handle this, but I'm not opposed to having those 2 items withheld from the report, if that's the proper way to go about it.
Yeah, I'll call for unanimous consent. Is there any opposition to holding out 7 and 12 from the report? Hearing no opposition, we'll hold those items out. So that leaves the balance of the report. Item 7 and 12 being withheld. Are there any other requests to speak, which would then follow the similar process if anyone else had issues or wanted further discussion on the other items? Any requests to speak? See no request to speak. The motion is to approve the report with the exception of items 7 and 12. I'll move into vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. We'll move on to item number 7 if there's any further discussion. I guess it leaves the balance, those 2. I guess I shouldn't assume it's 7. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding either of those 2 items?
Your Honor, I'd probably split them.
Okay.
For convenience here, but I'll make a motion to approve item 7 of the Property and Finance Committee report.
A motion to approve item 7 by Koth. Is there a second? Second by Blazer. Move into discussion. Are there any further discussion items on, or discussion on that item? Alderperson Graff?
The one thing I'd like to speak on is I had a resident reach out to me about this issue and possibly the fee structure, and I haven't been able to reach out back to them. At this point, I would like to amend the motion to table it until next month, so we'd have an opportunity, or I'd have an opportunity to reach out to a resident. I feel that would be appropriate, and once again, I apologize, but thank you.
Quick point of clarification, if it isn't unanimous, it'll have to come back for a second reading. So we can certainly take a motion to amend the motion, but not amend the motion. I guess you can't amend to postpone. We've got a motion to, there's already a motion to approve it, so we can't take a motion to table it. I guess it'd be a request to amend the motion. I guess preference either way. Do you want to make the motion to request to amend the original motion?
Just to be clear, so this ordinance would have to be brought back next month,
If there's any opposition, yeah.
then that would be appropriate for me to reach out. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any further requests to speak on that item? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That was the pass.
That was a past item, so.
Yeah, there was no, yeah, that was
Okay,
to,
we didn't call the vote yet, so, or give the result yet. So I believe the motion is on the floor to pass the ordinance as it is written. So if you,
that's the motion. So an aye vote would approve the way it's written, a nay vote would obviously oppose
And-
that. Bring it
And
back.
I'm a nay vote.
So we haven't recorded the vote. So I'm going to call for roll call vote just for simplicity. Blazer? Aye. Chicana? Goth?
Aye.
So motion failed. Three nays, 4-3.
but it's not unanimous.
Come back anyway. Yep, okay. Very good. Thank you. That leaves item 12. Alderpersons, what are your wishes regarding item 12? You have a motion to approve by Blazer. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Zerflu. Move into discussion. Are there any requests to speak? Alderperson Zerflu.
I do understand where Alderperson Catnaw is coming from, expressing his concerns. And I wasn't as eloquent as Alderperson Blazer was at the meeting, but if this is something that we're going to decide to try to discourage, I just think we should do it the right way, and that's as a council deciding to discourage it rather than acting in a reactive manner. Denying it based on the fact that they didn't uphold, I believe that this issue might have been taxes. That might have been enough to deny it, but if we're talking about city policy aimed at a business, I would prefer to not handle it on a case-by-case and rather us handle it as a matter of policy. So that's just my thoughts on that.
Alderperson Blazer.
And as previously stated before, I say let's leave the market decide. If the market doesn't want it, that'll be up to the market.
Other requests to speak? Alderperson Catnaw?
I just wanted to reiterate that because they did not renew, that this is considered a original application, so we do have opportunity here to determine whether we would want to move forward with this, rather than if they get into the renewal process, there's protections there. So.
Any further requests to speak? Motion is to approve. I'll move into a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Got the record indicate 2 nays, Catnaw and Rayom. Motion carried. It wasn't unanimous. That's just a straight, simple majority, correct? Okay, that moves on to item 10. Where am I at here? 10B. Again, Alderperson Zerflu.
Thank you again, Your Honor. The Finance Property Committee met at 5 p.m. on Monday, July 16th, 2018, in the first floor conference room at City Hall. All members were present. Also present, Alderpersons Graff and Rayom, Mayor Bruink, Sue Schill, Tim DeSorcy, and Adam Tagan. The meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. Item number 2, in open session, there was a motion by Blazer, second by Catnaw, to go into closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes, which reads, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Roll call vote was taken. All members voted in the affirmative. In closed session, the committee discussed negotiations strategy regarding the sale of city property. Sub B, discussed negotiations strategy regarding a development agreement with a developer. Sub C, discussed negotiations regarding easements and parking agreements for the YMCA Boys and Girls Club development. Item number 3 was a motion and a second to adjourn in closed session. That motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 6:36 PM. I'll make a motion to approve the report.
We have a motion by Zerflu to approve. Is there a second? Second by Graff. Is there any further discussion on the report? Seeing none, moving to a vote. Motion is to approve. Item 10B, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. 10C, report of the Public Works Committee meeting. Alderperson Rayom.
Thank you, Your Honor. Public Works Committee met at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, July 13th, 2018, July 3rd, 2018, in the first floor conference room at City Hall. All members were present. Others present included Colin Cronin and Alderperson Shane Blazer. Item 1, review the DPW report. The report was reviewed by the committee. Item 2, review proposed capital improvement plan. It is moved and seconded to approve the 2019 to 2023 capital improvement plan, subject to budget approval and recognizing water utility raw water main projects in 2020, 2021, 22, and 23. The motion carried unanimously. Item 3, discuss refuse collection methods, including automated cart collection. It is moved and seconded to implement an automated cart refuse collection program in 2019. The motion carried unanimously. Item 4, review the West Side Lift Station change order request. There's motion and second to approve the request by Myron Construction totaling $203,233.70 for the West Side Lift Station project. The motion carried unanimously. Item 5 was to review the referral list. The list was reviewed. Item 6 was to adjourn. It was moved and seconded to adjourn. The motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 8:06 p.m. And with that, Your Honor, I move for adoption of the report.
A motion to approve by Rayom. Is there a second? Second by Zerflu. Any discussion on the report? Seeing no request to speak, moving to a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 10D is report of the Human Resources Committee meeting held on July 13th. Alderperson Koth, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Human Resources Committee met at 9 a.m. on Friday, July 13th in the third floor conference room, City Hall. Present were Alderpersons Coles, Zerflu. Alderperson Kellogg was absent. Also present were Dawn Urban, Bill Clendenning, Adam Tagan, Scott Young, Aaron Pralbeck, Joel Keishall, Jay Bemke, Joe Terry, and Paul Ballard. The meeting was called to order at 9:03 a.m. Next was to review and approve the Delta dental rates for July 1st, 2018. There was a note, claims experience is currently calling for a 6% increase. We'll continue to monitor claims and may need to slightly increase dental premiums for 1/1/19. Dawn Urban explained that the administrative fees remained unchanged, and the city will continue to monitor dental claims to determine if a January increase is necessary. A motion was made by Chairperson Koth to approve the Delta dental renewal rates as presented, and second by Alderperson Zerflu. Motion carried. Review and approve the revised paid and sick leave policy. Dawn Urban explained the material changes of the paid sick leave policy and introduced the leave of absence policy. Chairperson Koth made a motion to approve both policies as presented, and this motion was seconded by Alderperson Zerflu. Motion carried. Review the leave of absence policy. Dawn Urban explained the material changes to the paid and sick leave policy and introduced the leave of absence policy. This was the same as number 3. We just took both items together. So the motion was made and seconded and carried. Review and approve the modified building maintenance technician job description. Paul Voller explained that this is a modified replacement position for an employee who recently retired. A motion was made by Chairperson Koth and seconded by Alderperson Zerflu to approve the job description as presented. The motion carried. Next was to review and approve the revised Ascension Health and Wellness Services for 2019. Dawn Urban explained the proposed changes to the city's existing wellness program for January 1, 2019. The cost savings to the city would be approximately $23,500. Chairperson Koth made a motion to approve the revised wellness program as presented. Alderperson Zerflu seconded the motion. Motion carried. Item 7 was to review and approve the temporary arrangement between the city and Lorelei Fuhr to provide commercial inspection services for a limited period of time. Adam Tagan explained that the city currently does not have an inspector who is licensed to conduct commercial inspections. However, the city inspectors are currently taking courses to enable them to achieve their inspection licenses. A motion was made by Chairperson Koth to approve an agreement with Lorelei Fuhr for 6 months at a cost of $1,500 a month. The motion was seconded by Alderperson Zerflu. Motion carried. Preliminary discussion around residency requirement. Discussion around the current 15-mile residency requirement for emergency personnel. This is a negotiable item with public safety unions and will be addressed as part of the upcoming collective bargaining agreement negotiations. Any changes to the residency requirement will require an amended city ordinance. Set the next meeting date. The next meeting date was scheduled for 8 a.m. on August 10th, 2018 in the third floor conference room of City Hall. There's motion to adjourn by Chairperson Koth and seconded by Alderperson Zerflu to adjourn. Motion carried. The meeting adjourned at 10:04 a.m. With that, I look for adoption of the Human Resources Committee minutes.
A motion by Koth. Is there a second? Second by Kellogg. Move into discussion. Are there any requests to speak? Alderperson Zerflu?
There was some that came up after the meeting regarding item number, I believe just 3 and not item number 4. There was a request to allow some discussion from city employees. I understand that they had that opportunity, but I would ask to amend the motion just to withhold that from the report.
Is there any objections to withholding item 3 from the approval? Hearing none, item 3 will be held out. So we have a motion to approve the balance of the report with, we've got a request to hold item 4. Is there any opposition to doing that? Seeing or hearing no was there opposition? Okay. Hearing no opposition to withholding 4.
Can I hold
3 and 4? 7?
7?
So 3, 4, and 7. Is there any opposition to withholding 7? Hearing none, we'll have 3, 4, and 7, so that leaves the balance of the report. I won't pretend to figure out what numbers those are. Alderperson Blazer?
I'd just like to make a general request. Given that the new time, I spoke to the chairman about this already, given the new time of the meeting, I'd like to see the meeting be taped or done in the first floor conference room. So I like to attend the meetings, and I'm unable to attend at that time of the day. And if we could record it so we can watch it on public access or on the other media outlets that the River Cities Access has, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, we've got the balance of the report. Moving to a vote. Seeing no further requests to speak. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. So we'll start, floor is open. Alderperson Zerflu.
I would just like to make a motion to, and Attorney Schill, stop me if we can't do this, but I'd just like this to go back to the HR committee next month. Just allow employees to reach out to us.
So the motion is to refer this item back to HR.
Yes, sir.
It's an appropriate motion. Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Katna. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion.
Second.
Alderperson Koth, you're first.
I'm going to defer to Dawn because do you want to speak on this for the sick leave? If you'd like.
Sure, I can give some basic background. So we had started discussing this with employees, I believe in the May timeframe, and currently the city policy allows up to 6 months of paid leave for an individual's own illness. Last year, the city spent $143,000 on this benefit, and that was the reasoning behind looking at the policy. That is a significant amount of money to spend on a benefit that other cities do not currently have. Wood County, I believe, has a short-term disability policy. Other cities, including Stevens Point and Marshfield, have required that their employees use their sick leave. So I do think that this is a policy that needs to be reviewed. I think that we need to be a little bit more fiscally responsible. I do think that, we should have a benefit for employees, but I think that there is also a fiscal responsibility there.
Steve, did you have anything further to your request there to?
I know that there was some contact on item number 3, but doing some investigating on it between last night and tonight, there was enough notice given, to what I understand, that if anyone did have objections to it, that they could have spoke on it. And I know that the person that contacted me on this wanted to wait until the police and fire unions negotiated their contracts. The thing of it is if this passes tonight, this amending the policy down to 8 weeks is going to affect every employee. It's going to affect every department that works for the city of Wisconsin Rapids. The only advantage that the police and fire union will have is that they can bargain for the sick leave policy from the city under their negotiations. Subsequently, they can also bargain for the residency restriction as well. If we hold this up and don't approve it, we run the risk of having to borrow or find money to extend a benefit that most other employers don't normally give out to employees. The benefit that the city gives is very generous. I don't know, I've never worked for an employer that would give you 8 weeks of time off without having to burn any sick time or comp time. That's all I have to say about it.
Further request to speak. Alderperson Zerflu.
I will just say I do agree. It's not appropriate to hold this up for union negotiations. Do you see any issues with delaying this a few weeks or I guess a full month?
I guess we can, if the committee decides to table it, and it can go back to the HR committee, I guess at that time we can look at other items if we want. We could look at having a short-term disability policy versus the city paying any benefit if we feel that that may be appropriate.
I think the other question is, what information don't you have tonight to be able to make a decision? That would be the.
I will say that, I'm sorry, we did have employees attend both the June and the July HR committee meeting, and I do feel that employees were presented with opportunities to speak. Alderperson Blazer, I know that you were at one of those, and we did have some employees. I believe that we had 3 employees at the July HR committee meeting, so I do feel that employees were provided with an opportunity.
Further request to speak. Alderperson Blazer.
I'm just going to echo Alderman Coath's comments that I think 8 weeks is very generous, and it's per occurrence. So if there's multiple issues throughout the year, you're covered with 8 weeks, and then you can use additional time beyond that 8 weeks. So I do think it's a very good benefit standing as is currently, or what is potentially could be.
Further request to speak. Alderperson Graff, you're next.
I just want to make it clear and why I'm going to vote to turn this down. And the main reason is one is that the meeting was last Friday. It is not taped, so I didn't have an opportunity to review what was gone over. I do get literature on what it is, but I did have multiple calls between yesterday and today to discuss it with, and I didn't have necessarily the appropriate background to give them information and then to turn around and try to make a vote on it tonight. So I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying, and it's unfortunate that there has been some people taking advantage of it, but I just would like a little bit more time, again, to make sure I understand it, and then make sure that the employees of the city also understand the benefit and what currently they have and what currently it's going to change to. The other point is that we talk about retention and gaining employees, so if it's not wages, that's something that we can negotiate. Typically, it's minimal amount of wages that we can negotiate or anybody group can negotiate. And then the other thing is the benefits. So it's what gets employees that want to come to Rapids. So again, I would caution it, taking away any benefits. The other thing I'd like to talk about or speak on is that is this necessarily appropriate for July or August? And I'm not saying that this isn't appropriate to move forward into this direction. But in a year or when people have vacations already planned or schedules already put out there, and then we're going to, in a sense, pull a little bit of their benefits away from them, it makes it hard for us as a city council to go ahead and do this. So I would entertain anybody else that wants to speak on any of those issues.
Other requests to speak? Alderperson Zerflu?
I would just like Mrs. Urban, opportunity to respond, I guess.
So I guess I want to make this clear. We're not taking vacation benefits away. This is above and beyond for individuals that need to be out for family medical leaves. So it doesn't really have an impact on summer vacations per se. What it does do is create unintended consequences of this policy. It does create shortages in staffing. It does mean because certain people need a leave and have an extended leave, other individuals may not get their vacations that they had put in for. We are trying to be fair, and quite honestly, I feel it would be more fair to have a benefit that could be more evenly distributed among all the city employees versus having 3 or 4 or 6 individuals use extended paid leave.
All right, so as clarification, Attorney Schill, the motion is to postpone this item, is that not correct?
The motion is to refer this back to Human Resources Committee at its next meeting.
Alderperson Rayom, you're next.
Thank you, Your Honor. Be quick because it's been said, I agree with what Lee said, and also I think a big thing that was mentioned, or not the biggest necessarily, but it could be, is that timing of the meeting and that this being brought to the council this evening for people to contact us as aldermen or whatever, that's to me a pretty tight time frame to make that decision. And that's why, again, not to speak on it necessarily, but item 4 is the same reason to hold out. At my intention would be to do the same with that, so.
All right, any further requests to speak? So we have, just so I understand, held out, we've got 3, 4, and 7 held up. Right, correct. The motion is just to refer 3. Any further requests to speak? Seeing no further requests to speak, the motion is to refer this back. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Roll call vote. Blazer?
Nay.
Motion carried, right? I wasn't counting. He was, sorry, yeah, there was a nay. So that was 4-3, right? 4-3 to refer it back. Did I get that right? 1, 2, 3. No. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. All right. We've got 4 and 3. All right. All right. Very good. So we'll move on to item number 4 then, or floor's open, I guess, for anyone wishing to. Right. Did I entertain a motion on that item?
I would make a motion to refer this back to the HR committee for the same reasons as 3.
Is there a second? Second by Rayom. Any discussion? Alderperson Blazer.
I guess I wasn't going to bring it up unless it was held out. I think the only thing I don't like in this policy, and I guess it can be brought up, would be 4.4 under the procedures where under limited circumstances and will require approval from HR committee. I'm always concerned when it could potentially be applied inconsistently. So that's my only question or concern with that statement there, that if it goes to HR, that it could be applied, or making sure that it's applied fairly and consistent, and
Sure.
because it's just vague in that
Yeah.
sense.
And
But
I can talk a little bit to the intent there if you would like. So the intent there is the policy, and I agree with your statement, it is vague. It would not be the intent. However, I wanted some type of disclaimer, if you will, so the HR committee could, if in fact the circumstances warranted that the leave be extended beyond that would be approved. And I think, in those instances where someone just needs 4 more weeks, I think that's completely reasonable, and I would want to have the ability to do that. So that was the reasoning behind that somewhat vague language, but I do understand your point about consistency.
so the additional 4 weeks under FMLA, they would still get that 4 weeks. They wouldn't need to go to HR, correct? They could take it.
So
With
the
vacation
FMLA
or-
would be 12 weeks, and the leave of absence policy past that would give an additional 8 weeks. So we're talking about time beyond the 12 and beyond the 8
okay.
weeks.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Are there any further requests to speak? Seeing none, moving to a vote. The motion is to refer this item similar to item 3. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay?
Nay.
Same as before. All right. Motion is carried. Item 7. What do we want to do there?
More along the lines of clarification, and this might go to Adam a little bit more, and I apologize for putting you on the spot, but the main reason is I'm questioning the services provided, and is a fee structure appropriate for it? Just doing some quick calculations, kind of wanted to feel you out as far as how many hours you figured a week. I know it's on an as-needed basis, so that's kind of why I was wondering if it was more appropriate to go to X amount of dollars an hour that would be consistent and fair for the services provided, plus to the city, so that there's not this range of anywhere from, $65 an hour down to $25 an hour.
Well, I guess I'll start with, we did go out and get a second quote as well, and that one was based on a time and trip type of basis. When we averaged out to what we're expecting, and we're at a minimum, I'm looking at probably 6 to 8 hours, and that's a bare minimum on a weekly basis. When we were looking at it that way, going with the time and material type of contract, we were actually approaching over $2,000 per month. And that's only if we're staying consistent. If we were going at a higher number of hours, because we have projects like the YMCA coming up, we have the hospital ongoing, we have a dealership project, we have a lot of commercial activity ongoing right now. So ultimately what we looked at was it's actually more beneficial to have a cap on it, because she has, the way the contract goes, she will cover the necessary inspections. So rather than having a sliding scale, I guess, we were more comfortable with hourly.
I apologize. I understand what you're saying, and that's why I wanted to ask a little bit more of the details, because at first glance, I'm questioning the hours. The other thing is, you said that currently staff is looking to get training to provide these services, so you figured a 6-month period would get them up to the appropriate level in order to not extend it for another 6 months?
And I always say that with a caveat, because it is a very difficult credential to obtain. When we looked for filling our current position, we had 40 to 50 resumes, I would say. Of those, one person had this credential. So it's not a common credential to get, because when it's commercial building, to understand what type of construction we have in the Wisconsin Rapids area is probably not as difficult, but the way the credential is done is it would mean you could inspect and understand what's going on in a 50-story skyscraper. So it's a very in-depth credential. So while both inspectors will be taking training and will be taking the test by the end of the year, I can't guarantee that they will be passing that. So I would note that there is the possibility that if we want to continue to have this credential in-house, that we would be looking at an extension. But I do want to keep it short-term so that I'm pressuring the inspectors to work towards it.
Was this something that we currently do now? That we had somebody that did it, or?
Yeah, Dale Bates, who just retired, he did have this credential.
And then with that, I move for an adoption. I apologize for the inconvenience.
Motion to approve by Graff, is there a second? Second by Zerflu, any further discussion? Seeing no further requests to speak, please cast, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Item 11, miscellaneous reports. Housing Authority held May 1st. Item 2 is the McMillan Library Board of Trustees held on June 20th. Item 3, the Waterworks and Lighting Commission held on June 13th. Item 4, the Wastewater Treatment Commission held on June 6th and July 11th. Item 5, the Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department monthly update for June. Item 6, the Park and Recreation Commission held on July 9th. All the persons, what are your wishes regarding those reports?
Make a motion to accept the balance of the reports.
We have a motion by Colt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Catna. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item 12, referral of communication to committees. Are there any referrals? Alderperson Blazer.
Like I previously said, I couldn't make HR committee meeting, but I've kind of had a long-standing opinion on this for a long time, and I'd like to refer to the council that we take up and eliminate the residency ordinance as a council, and go from there.
And that's a referral to Human Resources Committee, I would assume. Are other referral of communication to committees? Alderperson Graff.
I would like to make a referral, if we could get the recycling issue buttoned up.
Referral to
Public
Public Works
Works.
for the recycling carts and probably the mobile home parks?
Yep.
Is that, or multifamily? maybe?
Multifamily complexes, make sure that language gets cleaned up, or at least there's a full understanding.
Very good.
Thank you.
Other referral of communication to committees? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn. We got a motion by Zerflu, is there a second? Second by Blazer, all in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you all for being here. Have a good rest of your evening.